Mataji. And
thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji, please act humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for joining us and giving us your constant association. Welcome.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and the assembled devotees. This is Devati from Atlanta, Mataji.
Krishna Revati Mataji, we are very, very happy to have your association on the call and your consistent chanting. Welcome to the call, Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. This is Cinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Cinmayi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji. We are looking forward to the plans.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances and congratulations to Yashamati Mataji. This is Darshini joining from India.
Thank you, Darshini.
Thank you, Darshini Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, and thank you for bringing all of us together to wish Mataji today.
No, Mataji, it was all your effort.
Thank you for Anybody else would like to introduce themselves? Anybody else would like to introduce themselves today on the call? Okay, I think it's time to get started. Hare Krishna, welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Thank you all so much for joining us today and giving us your very, very valuable association. Today, before we get started with the Caitanya Bhagavat class, I would like to read Srila Prabhupada's quote for 18 September. I feel very happy that even after my departure, things will go on. I'm happy that I have got so many sincere devotees who will carry on. This is my happiness. Letter to Madhudvisha. This was September 18, 1974. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining us and giving us your very, very valuable association today. Today's class on Sri Caitanya Bhagavat will be given by Her Grace Cinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi, and I'm very honored to welcome her. She will be speaking on Caitanya Bhagavat, MAdhya Khanda, chapter 3, verses 37 through 43. Thank you so much, Cinmayi Mataji. Thank you for your very valuable association and time. We are waiting for your class. You can now take over. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prithvilasini Mataji. Not at all qualified to speak about the Lord, but you somehow pull me up and encourage me. So here I am. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, all devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Please bless me that I will speak something in glorification to the Lord which makes sense, and I'll stay in at all times following Prabhupada's words, and I don't get deviated anywhere and use my mental concoction. This is very important to me. This blessing is very important to me, and please forgive me for all the offenses I make during this 45 minutes, because I am going to make a lot of mistakes. So please bear with me. We'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या देशतारिणे पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तिशक्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं हरिः ओं तत्सत् Hare Krishna. So this third chapter is entitled The Lord Manifests His Varaha Form in the House of Murari and Meets with Nityananda. So a little bit of recap just to know what was going on in the last week's discussion. So one day when Lord heard a verse glorifying Lord Varahadeva, he roars loudly. And he starts walking to the house of Murari Gupta. Now, this Murari Gupta is very close to very dear to the Lord, just the way Hanuman is dear to Lord Ramachandra. And Murari Gupta, on seeing the Lord, he offers his obeisances, and the Lord calls out, Sukara, Sukara. And this Vishwambhara, he enters the Vishnu temple of Murari Gupta's house, and there he sees a beautiful water pot with a snout on it. And then our Lord assumes the beautiful form of Varahadeva, and he takes this water pot in his teeth, and he develops 4 hooves and reveals this beautiful Varaha form to Murari and says, Murari, start glorifying me. Now Murari Gupta is totally stunned. And he says, and he tells the Lord, Lord Ananta, who has millions of universes in one of his food, he is glorifying you using his thousands of mouths. And he is constantly doing this, and still has not come to the end of it. So how can I glorify you? But then we learned we have to still glorify the Lord, and we have to say prayers. We learned from Mataji what are all the different prayers we have and how we have to render prayers. We can even add our heartfelt prayers along with prayers by pure devotees. So we learned all that. And then Murari Gupta says, even the Vedas, whose injunctions are followed by everyone, they are not able to understand you in full, and they are not glorified you in full. So what can I do to you? And this way, Murari Gupta, in his humility, he glorifies. And Lord Varahadeva gets very pleased with all these prayers of Murari Gupta, and he starts displaying anger towards Vedas. Now, Vedas are actually the Veda personified. They follow the footsteps of gopis, but still Mahaprabhu appears annoyed with the Vedas because the Vedas encourage Mayavads to search for absolute truth in the ascending process of neti. So because of that, Mahaprabhu is very angry at the Vedas, and he says the Vedas mock me as having no hands, no legs, no eyes, no ears, and so he is annoyed with the Vedas. So this is all what we learned in the last classes. Now we will go to today's verses. This is text 37. Kashi te padaya beta prakashananda, sei beta kare mora anga khanda khanda. There is one wretch in Kashi named Prakashananda who cuts my body to pieces while teaching the Vedas. A commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. An impersonalist sannyasi professor named Prakashananda cuts my eternal transcendental limbs to pieces in his explanation of the Vedas. Some people mistakenly consider that Prakashananda was none other than Prabodhananda, the younger brother of Venkata Bhatta, who lived on the bank of Kaveri. Since such mistakes are found in the Sahajiya book named Bhaktimala, the same mistake is also often found among modern writers. So here, Mahaprabhu is talking about a sannyasi, Mayavad sannyasi by name Prakashananda. And he is talking Vedantas and great philosophies, but he is an impersonalist. And he is describing the Lord as formless. So this is what the Lord is telling here. And our Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada is saying that we should not go behind some books which mislead us. So I have also done this mistake before getting hold of Srila Prabhupada's books, where I have read so many Mayavad books, so many books in quest of the Lord, and I have not understood what they are saying. But we are all so fortunate to be under the safe protection of Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada takes essence of all the Acharya's instructions and puts them in his books. And we are all so fortunate here. And there are so many books which guide us and keep us in check. So this is what we have. We are very fortunate of. And one more thing is I thought of was when Swarup Damodar Goswami comes to Jagannath Puri to meet Mahaprabhu for the first time. He glorifies the Lord with beautiful prayers. And in one of the prayers, he says 10 aspects of the Lord's mercy. And one of them is, he says, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, quarrels and disagreements which arise among different scriptures are vanquished by Mahaprabhu's mercy. So we need Mahaprabhu's mercy to even understand scriptures. And this mercy is being given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So that is why we are very safe when we read Srila Prabhupada's books. I'll go to text 38. Vakhane ye veda mora vigraha na mane sarva ange haila kushtha tabu nahi jane. He explains the Vedas but does not accept my form. His entire body is afflicted with leprosy, yet he does not come to his senses. Although Prakashananda explains the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, he does not accept the eternal existence of the Lord's spiritual form. As a result, he became an offender and his entire body was afflicted with leprosy. Still, his knowledge has not awakened. So our Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. He has, the realization of absolute truth will take place at 3 levels. Sat feature is knowing the eternity feature of the Lord. Chit is knowing the knowledge feature of the Lord. And Ananda is knowing the blissful feature of the Lord. So when the realization is limited to the Sat form, the eternity form, the what form of realization we have is Brahman realization. When the realization is Sat and Chit, so a person realizes the eternity form of the Lord and the knowledge of the Lord. So he's limited to those two features, then he reaches to the level of Paramatma realization. He starts seeing the Lord as Paramatma. But when the realization is complete, knowing the Sat feature, knowing the Chit feature, and knowing the Ananda feature, the blissful form of the Lord, then the realization is of that beautiful Shyamasundara form, Bhagavan form. So, and Satchidananda Vigraha, he is form, he is not without a form. So, and he is beautiful, he has all the interactions in various rasas. So this is how we realize the Supreme Lord, and not any impartial realization. So here, just thinking of where in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, there's a Bengali poet who is admonished by Swarup Damodar Goswami. So it goes like this. This was there were many devotees, many people who were writing many verses, prayers, songs, various compositions in glorification of Mahaprabhu. And they wanted Mahaprabhu to read them. But Mahaprabhu was very, very particular about two things. That was, one was Rasabhas, and second one was Siddhanta Virodha. So Rasabhas, a mixture of the mellows should not happen, and it should not be against the philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda. So who was the policeman for this was Swarup Damodar Goswami. So Swarup Damodar Goswami would first hear all these prayers, and when he would find it appropriate, he would submit it to Mahaprabhu to listen. So once what happened, Bhagavan Acharya kept insisting Swarup Damodar Goswami to read one a drama written by a Bengali poet. And Swarup Damodar Goswami kept saying, no, there could be some contamination in it. I don't want to read. But Bhagavan Acharya said, oh, he's very famous. Many people have liked his drama. Can you please read? And again he kept insisting. So Swarup Damodar Goswami comes to listen. And this Bengali poet starts reading his drama. He starts with the introductory verse, the Nandi Shloka. I'll read the translation of that shloka. He says, the Supreme Lord has assumed a golden complexion and has become the soul of the body named Lord Jagannatha, whose blooming lotus eyes are widely expanded. Thus, he has appeared in Puri and brought dull matter to life. May that Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Deva bestow all good fortune upon you. And all the people who were sitting there enjoyed this verse. But Swarup Damodar Goswami was not happy with this verse. He asked the poet for an explanation. And the poet said, Lord Jagannath is a most beautiful body, and grave Lord Chaitanya is the owner of that body. Lord Chaitanya has appeared here in Nilachal to spiritualize the entire dull material world. So Swarup Damodar Goswami gets very angry with this verse. He calls that Bengali poet a fool. He says, you are dipped in ignorance and you have brought ill fortune upon yourself because you have no knowledge of both the lords. The mistakes the Bengali poet did here was, first he mistook Lord Jagannath's body to be made of matter. This can never happen. We have learned in Bhagavad Gita itself, repeatedly Prabhupada says this, how Archa Vigraha is transcendental. So Prabhupada gives the example of postbox. So he says, when we have a letter and it has to reach its destination, we have to put it in a post box and not any box which is lying around. So when we put the letter in the post box, it does go to its destination. So what is it? So the Archa Vigraha which is installed in the temple is the Lord himself, because it is installed by acharyas, reciting the right prayers, reciting the right mantras, and they have invoked the presence of Lord in that Archa Vigraha. And the Lord has very graciously accepted it, and he has come to reside in that Archa Vigraha. So we cannot mistake Archa Vigraha for a matter. So this was the first mistake the poet did. The second mistake was he considered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be a Jiva. So Swarup Damodar Goswami said, Mahaprabhu is fire himself, and you have mistaken him for a spark of fire. So you are in illusion, for you have distinguished between the body and soul of his lordship. And this is a big mistake, and you will face consequences for this. And there is no distinction between the soul and the body of the Lord at any time. Everything is spiritual. So this was what Swarup Damodar Goswami revealed to the poet. We'll move on with the next verse, text 39. Sarva yajna maya mora ye anga pavitra ajabhava adi gaya yahara charitra. My pure body is the personification of all sacrifices. Personalities such as Brahma and Shiva glorify its characteristics. I am Vishnu, the Lord of all sacrifices. So there is no possibility of attributing any kind of impurity or fault on my spiritual body. My characteristics are the object of glorification for personalities like Brahma and Shiva. That the Lord is the personification of all sacrifices is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.7.1. Kraudim tanum sakala yajna mayim anantaha, and in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.13, 32 to 44. So I thought I'll just go through those verses in a very short way. Some of those verses where this is Lord Varahadeva has appeared, and he has revealed his beautiful form. He comes from the nostril of Brahma, so tiny, and then he grows, and he is so beautiful. And seeing him, the sages of the upper planetary systems from Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, they all start singing beautiful prayers, glorifying the Lord. And they say how Lord Varaha's body is the form of sacrifice. Actually, Varahadeva is Yajna Varaha. So this is how we learn why he is called Yajna Varaha. So they say, from his skin, Vedic hymns arise. From his bodily hair, Kusha grass arises. So we know when Varahadeva places the earth in her right position, and then he wants to shake off the water from his body. And so he shakes off the water from his body, and the water and some of his bodily hair falls down. And that is the Kusha grass, which is considered so auspicious that no Vedic sacrifice starts without the Kusha grass. So that is the importance of Kusha grass, and we know where it has come from. And the Lord's eyes as clarified butter, the ghee which is used for the sacrifice. And from his 4 legs arise the 4 actions of the Chaturhotram. And the Lord's tongue is the sacrificial ladle, his nostril is the ghee ladle, his belly is the Ida vessel, his ears are the Chamasa container, his mouth is the Prashitara vessel, and his throat are the Soma plates, and his chewing is our sacrifice or Agnihotra. And then from the Lord's semen arises the Soma Yajna. From his growth, the morning rituals arise. The 7 dhatus arise the 7 elements of the Agnistoma sacrifice. And from his bodily joints, the Satra sacrifices which are done over 12 days arise. So this is our Yajna Varaha. He is the personification of all the sacrifices. And how can we mistake him to be in the boar, as the body of a boar? So that would be our biggest ignorance. Moving on, text 40. Punya Pavitra Paya. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to this verse. I'm so sorry. There was something else which I had to say. I'm so sorry. And the second part of this verse, Mahaprabhu says, personalities such as Brahma and Shiva glorify its characteristics. So even demigods, they do not understand the Supreme Lord in full, but they do know the actual significance of the Lord. And when Lord Varaha appears in Chakshusha Manvantara, and after he kills Hiranyaksha, the demigods come to sing the glories of the Lord. And one of the verses which Brahmaji says is, or all the demigods say is, all obeisances unto you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, who have assumed the form of a boar in pure sattva for maintaining the world. Now that the demon has been slain by you, we are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. So even the demigods have understood that the Supreme Lord is the receiver of all sacrifices. So many sacrifices are being done for demigods, but they are all supposed to reach the Supreme Lord, who is Yajna himself. Now let's move on to the next verse. Punya pavitra tapaya ye anga parashe taha mithya bala beta ke manasa sahase. By the touch of my body, purity is sanctified. So how can that wretch say that my body is false? The body of the Supreme Lord is eternal. Therefore, unpleasantness, insignificance, abomination, and division cannot be attributed to it. The touch of such supremely pure limbs of the Lord greatly purifies less purified objects. Therefore, I cannot understand how he dares to establish such an eternal body as temporary. So what an offense is being done here? Unpleasantness, insignificance, abomination, division, all these things cannot be attributed to the Supreme Lord's body. So we have seen Prabhupada's purports during all these incarnations when the Lord takes the incarnation of a boar or Matsya. Prabhupada repeatedly says, so boar is considered an abominable animal, but when the Lord assumes the form of a boar, he is the most beautiful boar and he is the most beautiful Lord. So, and the Lord expands into so many plenary portions, but he is Purnam, always Purnam. So there is no division to the Lord and there is no unpleasantness or anything to the Supreme Lord. And the Lord talks about the touch of his body. He says by his touch, purity herself gets sanctified. So here I would like to read a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, which is a liberation of Gajendra, chapter 4. This translation and purport is so beautiful. I am just going to read this because every word of Srila Prabhupada is so beautiful here and we can all enjoy it together. The verse is, so here what has happened, Gajendra has been liberated by the Lord and the Lord has come. He sees the distressful condition of Gajendra and he pulls Gajendra from the clutches of the crocodile's mouth. So now what happens to Gajendra? Gajendro Bhagavat Sparshad Vimukto Ajnana Bandhanat Prapto Bhagavato Rupam Pitavashas Chaturbhujam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Because Gajendra, the king of the elephants, had been touched directly by the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was immediately freed of all material ignorance and bondage. Thus, he received the salvation of Sarupya Mukti, in which he achieved the same bodily features of the Lord, being dressed in yellow garments and possessing 4 hands. So we know when Gajendra recited those prayers, he just remembered them from his past life. He was in immense distress, and in that condition, he just remembered by the grace of his Paramatma, he could remember those prayers and he recited them without even knowing who the Supreme Lord was. But still the Supreme Lord comes. He comes in such a haste and he rescues Gajendra. So we'll read the purport now. If one is favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by having his gross body touched by the Lord, his body turns into a spiritual body and he can go back home, back to Godhead. Gajendra assumed a spiritual body when his body was touched by the Lord. Similarly, Dhruva Maharaja assumed his spiritual body in this way. Archana Paddhati, daily worship of the Lord, provides an opportunity to touch the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus it enables one to be fortunate enough to get a spiritual body and go back to Godhead. Not only by touching the body of the Supreme Lord, but simply by hearing about his pastimes, chanting his glories, by serving the Lord somehow or other, one is purified of material contamination. This is the result of touching the Supreme Lord. One who is a pure devotee, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, who acts according to Shastra and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly becomes purified. Like Gajendra, he assumes a spiritual body and returns home back to Godhead. So this is the assurance given by Srila Prabhupada. But that part of Anyabhilashita Shunyam is very difficult. We have to work on it. But Srila Prabhupada gives the assurance, all of us might not be eligible to do deity worship. So he says, it's okay. Hearing, chanting, anything, hearing the pastimes of the Lord, glorifying the Lord in any way, trying to become pure. That is enough. Somehow the Lord will touch us and will purify us. So one more thing what I was thinking was Hiranyaksha himself, he was killed by the Lord. How? When the Lord slaps the root of his ear. So there was an intense fight going on between Hiranyaksha and the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord in his Varaha form was enjoying the fight. He was enjoying and enjoying. And the demigods had to come remind him, Lord, please stop this fun and protect us and kill this demon. we can't take him anymore. So then the Lord decides to kill him. And Hiranyaksha would have done so many illusory tricks, everything. And the Lord takes his Vishnu Chakra, clears all those illusory tricks. And then when Hiranyaksha comes to attack him, he just slaps the root of his ear and Hiranyaksha dies. So the body of Hiranyaksha is lying there and there is an immense glow coming from the body. So the demigods come to pray, to take shelter of the Lord and to glorify him. And they see this body lying there. And Brahmaji remarks, oh, who could meet such a blessed death? He was struck by the forefoot of the Lord, on whom yogis meditate upon. And he cast off this body, seeing the beautiful lotus face of the Lord. So that was Hiranyaksha was so blessed because, of course, he was the eternal servant of the Lord and he had just come here for the Lord's pastime to be revealed. So this is the glory of the Lord's touch. And one more episode is son of King Prataparudra. So this is Mahaprabhu's completed his, when Mahaprabhu was doing his South India trip, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya goes to meet King Prataparudra, who is the king of Orissa region. And he glorifies the Supreme Lord so much that Prataparudra gets an intense desire to meet the Lord. And he asks Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya if he could arrange a meeting with the Lord, if he could somehow get darshan of the Lord. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya waits for the Lord to come back to Puri. And then after some days, he approaches the Lord and requests the Lord if the Lord can meet Prataparudra. But the Lord says, I will not meet a king and women. You know this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, kings are Vishayis, I cannot meet them. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya goes and tells this to King Prataparudra. And I think 2 times Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya comes and asks Mahaprabhu and requests him if he can meet Prataparudra, and Mahaprabhu doesn't agree to it. But the king doesn't lose heart. He keeps requesting different people if they can somehow recommend giving a darshan to the Lord of the Lord. So he goes and requests the devotees of the Lord next. He says, can you please somehow make the Lord meet me? And he says, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to either become a mendicant or I'm going to give up my life. Because without seeing the Lord, I have no purpose. So when the devotees hear this, they become very concerned, because Prataparudra is such a nice devotee, King Prataparudra. So they come and they all request Mahaprabhu if he can meet the king. And again, Mahaprabhu denies the request. He says, no, I cannot meet the king. And then Nityananda Prabhu says, okay, if you cannot meet the king even now, can you at least do something? Can you give one of your garments, give some paraphernalia of yours, so that we can take this and give it to the king, so that he does not do any unwanted action? Mahaprabhu finally agrees to it, and Nityananda Prabhu requests Govinda, takes an outer garment of Mahaprabhu and goes and gives it to King Prataparudra. Now, Prataparudra honors this garment as though it is the Lord himself, because there is no difference between the Lord's paraphernalia and the Lord. So he feels so happy as though the Lord himself has come. And he's satisfied for some time. But again, he wants to see the Lord. He wants to have the darshan of the Lord. So then sometime later, when Ramananda Raya comes to visit him, Ramananda Raya works under Prataparudra king. But Ramananda Raya has already been accepted by Mahaprabhu and has been instructed by Mahaprabhu to leave all his duties and come to Jagannath Puri to serve the Supreme Lord. So Ramananda Raya comes, first requests the king if he can stop all his administrative duties and get to serve Mahaprabhu. The king agrees very happily and he says, yes, please do it. I'll be very happy and serve him very nicely, he says. And then the king says, can you please recommend one darshan for me too? So Ramananda Raya comes. And he glorifies King Prataparudra. He says all the good qualities of King Prataparudra, how nice a devotee he is. And then he asks Mahaprabhu, can you please meet him? Mahaprabhu says, no, I cannot meet. You know better than this, Ramananda. I cannot meet a king. What will the world say? I cannot meet him. Then Ramananda Raya says, can I offer an alternative? Can you at least meet his son? Because son is like an extension of the father. So can you please meet his son so that the king will get some solace? And Mahaprabhu agrees to it. He says, okay, get his son. I will meet him. And then Ramananda Raya runs to Prataparudra's palace and gets his son. Now this boy has just entered youth. He is very beautiful to look. He is dark complexion and he has lotus-like eyes and he's very beautiful, and he comes and stands in front of Mahaprabhu and offers his obeisances. And Mahaprabhu looks at this Lord and says, oh, this boy is so beautiful. He reminds me of Krishna. And he goes and embraces that boy. And by this touch of the Lord, that boy who was just like any ordinary boy gets into ecstasy, and he starts showing all the symptoms of ecstasy like perspiration, trembling, tears. Everything is happening in him and he is screaming, Krishna, Krishna. And Mahaprabhu calms him down and he says, okay, relax and you can come every day and meet me. So here, Prabhupada makes a very significant note. He says, this is called causeless mercy. So he says, on the previous day, the boy was simply an ordinary prince. But the next day, he was counted as one of the topmost confidential devotees of the Lord. So the Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful or almighty, and he can act as he likes. So right from nowhere, this boy became the topmost confidential devotee of the Lord by the touch of the Lord. And then Prataparudra takes this boy to the king's palace. And seeing this boy, Prataparudra is so happy. And he embraces his son and he gets into ecstatic feelings. And this is the power of the Lord's touch. Let's move on. Text 41. Sunaha Murari Gupta kahi mata sara Veda Guhya kahi ei tomara gochara. O Murari Gupta, listen as I tell you the essence of all doctrines. I will disclose the confidential purport of the Vedas to you. Ami Yajnavaraha Sakala Vedasara Ami Sekarinu Purve Prithvi Uddhara. I am Varaha, the enjoyer of all sacrifices and the essence of the Vedas. It was I who previously delivered the earth. I previously took the form of Varaha, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, and delivered the earth, which was devoid of Vedic knowledge, from the waters of material knowledge. Therefore, I am the essence of all the Vedas. So we know Prabhupada has reinforced it again and again and again to us in so many purports. This verse from Bhagavad Gita, Veda ischa sarvair ahameva vedaha Vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. So by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta and I am the knower of all the Vedas. So even Vyasadeva is a partial incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So he is the essence of all the Vedas. The purpose of reading all the Vedas is to know the Supreme Lord. If we lose that purpose and keep just learning the Vedas as some verses and getting caught up in the different khandas it offers, karma khanda, jnana khanda, we just lose track of our goal. The goal of human life is to somehow please the Supreme Lord. So yeah, we have to never lose that goal. Moving on, 43, the last verse for today. Sankirtana arambhe mohara avatara bhakta jana lagi dushta karimu samhara. I have incarnated to inaugurate the Sankirtana movement. I will destroy the miscreants for the sake of my devotees. So here the commentary of Saraswati Prabhupada is, before the inauguration of Sankirtana, I bewildered the entire world as an ordinary dwarf who was forced to accept the fruits of his karma. So here Prabhupada Saraswati is talking about Vamana Deva, and Prabhupada Saraswati is saying, what he's trying to say here is, generally, if a conditioned soul has some bodily defects or anything, it is attributed to the past karmas, past fruitive activities, because of which we go through those fruits. We experience those fruits. But the Supreme Lord, as we have been seeing, is Satchidananda, He's transcendental. There is no way any karma can touch him. There is no karma for him at all. His karmas are janma karma cha me divyam. Everything is transcendental. And if we get to know and understand a little, we are there serving him. So that is our, that is his supreme position. But this Lord, when he came as an ordinary dwarf, people might have mistaken him. They got bewildered, saying, oh, this is an ordinary dwarf. But how was that dwarf to look? That Vamana Deva, he was so beautiful, that small Vatu Brahmana, that I forget the name, even Bali Maharaj's, I don't know, daughter or sister, she wanted to take that child and cuddle him, and she wanted to pour out her love to him. And the Lord also gave her wish. He granted that wish to her also when she came as Putana. So that is our Supreme Lord, who knows everything, who understands everything, and he is transcendental. But he bewildered the entire mass of people, and also he bewildered Bali Maharaj, and he came as an ordinary dwarf. So that is what Saraswati Thakur is saying here. I'll continue with the purport. But to propagate the Sankirtana movement, I have descended to this world from Vaikuntha. I have already made this known to everyone. The reason for my appearance here is that envious demons who constantly place various obstacles in the spiritual progress of my devotees. To protect the devotees from such impediments, I will destroy those envious elements. So here the Lord is saying, whoever is placing an obstacle in the progress, in the spiritual progress of a devotee, the Lord will take care of them. This is the assurance the Lord is giving. We all know the story of Srila Haridas Thakur. He was such a pure devotee, so I can't relate it to the spiritual progress of Srila Haridas Thakur, but how the Lord came to protect Srila Haridas Thakur. So Srila Haridas Thakur was being whipped in 22 marketplaces. And the Lord got so angry, he wanted to release his Sudarshana Chakra. But then Haridas Thakur says, no, they do not know what they are doing, my Lord. Show your compassion to them. And so what the Lord did, the Lord took the whippings, the Lord took the beatings of those Muslim soldiers. So this is how the Lord comes running to protect his devotees. And the other story is Ambarish Maharaj. We all know that how Ambarish Maharaj was like he was having that fast on Ekadashi, and Durvasa Muni comes, and Ambarish Maharaj he honors Durvasa Muni, but Durvasa Muni goes to take a bath, and the time to complete the fast approaches, and at that time Ambarish Maharaj just takes a few sips of water as advised by the Brahmanas around him, and Durvasa Muni, in his ignorance, gets so angry by this small act, which is not at all wrong, and from his hair he creates a demon, uses all his mystic power, and that demon, he advises that demon to go kill Ambarish Maharaj, and then again the Lord comes as Sudarshana Chakra to protect his devotee. And when Durvasa Muni goes to the Supreme Lord himself and says, protect me, the Lord says, no, I have no control. You have to go and talk to my devotee. And if he forgives you, I'll forgive you. So that is the Supreme Lord's mood when it comes to his devotees. And he is assuring us that he will destroy all the impediments in our spiritual progress, provided we are sincere. And we want to progress properly. That this instruction is for me, it's not even Ved's eye. So please forgive me for saying that. And conclude by saying, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santah sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shyama sundaram achintyam gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has written, the form of Krishna is visible to that eye in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion. When the devotion of a neophyte reaches the stage of Bhava Bhakti, the pure eye, tinged with the salve of love by the grace of Krishna, enables him to see Krishna face to face. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya cha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo, namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Mataji and Prabhuji, please forgive me for all the mistakes I made, correct me, and please go ahead and share your realizations. Not good at tracking time. I think I finished off the class early, so please forgive me for that also.
Cinmayi Mataji, thank you so much. You were talking about the sincerity of a devotee, and we can just see how sincere you are in preparing for the class. Watching everything, your notes, where you quote from, how you're so chaste to Prabhupada's books, and how much time you invest in studying Prabhupada's books. So it's a very big inspiration for all of us when we watch such wonderful classes. So grateful to you for coming forward and covering this section. Every word just goes straight into the heart when you speak. So it was a very relishable class. I like the way you were relating to several stories like King Prataparudra, the touch, how the touch of the Lord purifies, of course, Gajendra. And then again, when you were talking about Haridas Thakur, and especially I like this Varahadev episode that you were talking about, how the touch of Lord Varaha actually liberated this demon Hiranyaksha. Just here. Two things. Yeah, definitely the touch of the Lord, that part I really enjoyed. And also about one statement you made about how the Lord is Yajna Varaha, and when he was shaking off, some hair fell down, and that became the Darba grass, and how Darba and Yajna is inseparable. I didn't even think in that far. It was so nice the way you brought out that realization. And definitely, when you were telling that touch of the Lord is a deity worship according to Prabhupada's purport, you read verbatim Prabhupada's purport. And there Prabhupada himself says, not only if you're not qualified to do deity worship, so what? It's also hearing and chanting about the Lord. And that is so true, right? We get in touch with the Lord, even if we're not touching the Lord. We get so directly in touch with the Lord, and everything is absolute when it comes to Krishna. So getting in touch with Krishna or touching Krishna is in one sense the same. Purification it brings out. I mean, so beautiful. Krishna consciousness is very beautiful. And in your class, you brought out that beauty in Krishna consciousness. So I'm very grateful to you. It was a very beautiful, lovely class. Please come more often, take up more projects like this and inspire all of us. Thank you.
Mataji, it's all your mercy. I checked everything with you because I didn't want to do any mistakes. And you were the one who pointed me to Gajendra's that verse. And when I read it, I thought I'm not going to alter it. I'm not going to say it through my contaminated mouth. And I just read the purport. It's all your mercy, Mataji. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing anything. So thanks to you and thanks to all the people in this forum, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Please bless me.
We'll move ahead with question and answers if you have time. You have time, Mataji?
Oh, I have all the time.
First-
No questions, please share your realization. Questions will be taken up by senior devotees.
Okay, but you will still take questions. Darshini Mataji, please go ahead with your questions.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, very, very sweet class and a lot of meditations that you've given. I had some reflections. When we were talking about King Pratap Rudra not being able to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I was also thinking until he took to the service of the Lord, to the service of the devotees, he couldn't see Mahaprabhu, right? So on the strength of his service, the attitude to serve is what will take us close to Krishna, not just the, wanting or wishing. The intense desire to serve will take us to Radha and Krishna and to Gaur and Nitai. So I was thinking on that. And also when you were telling about Lord, liberating Hiranyaksha by, touching the ears, I was thinking like, the first incarnation of Jai and Vijay in this world was in the form of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, right? So Lord, by, touching the ears of Hiranyaksha said that, Shravanam is the first limb you should perform. So I was thinking it in that way.
Nice. Very nice.
And then it ends with Jai and Vijay getting prem, right? I mean, they get prem as Jagai and Madhai. So I was thinking, Lord, by doing this, has said that your way to me starts from your ear. So it starts from Shravanam. So I was thinking on this. And I was also remembering about Govinda Ghosha's departure because we heard about Darbar Gras, and also you were talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servant and also deity worship. So I was just thinking that, even after his wife passed away, his son passed away, when he had actually given up on worship, right? He told Gopinath, you also get used to this now. No one is there at home. After I go, who will look after you? And Gopinath, with so much of reciprocation, after Govinda Ghosh left his body, Gopinath as a deity sat down to do his, to do those ceremonies, to do those rituals after the departure of Govinda Ghosh. So we can't even imagine the level of reciprocation Krishna gives us. Like we can't feel it right now, but Krishna is still reciprocating with us, right? So I was thinking on this. And also, I was thinking on this fact that when you were telling that when Haridas Thakur was being whipped in so many places and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invoked the Sudarshan Chakra, and Haridas Thakur pleaded Mahaprabhu to show his mercy on the people who whipped him. I was thinking how easy it is for us in Kali Yuga. I mean, there's no comparison between us and Mahaprabhu, but I was just thinking on these lines that, how easy it is for us to get angry, to fight, but it's so difficult to show compassion, to show mercy, to forgive people. And Srila Prabhupada embodied all these things that were very difficult. Like, we do things that anyone can do, and Srila Prabhupada did things that we can't even imagine doing, right? The level of compassion, the kindness, the mercy Srila Prabhupada had on us. So I was thinking of that. And also the very fact that, even a moment's association with a devotee can change one's life, right? That was like reflected in your entire pastime. So that's it, Mataji. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Darshini Mataji. Always love your realizations. You go so deep in them. I wouldn't have thought. I never thought of this as beginner's Shravanam and come to me with prema. So nice. Beautiful, Mataji. Beautiful realizations. Thank you.
It is inspiration, Mataji. That's it.
Mataji, I'm nothing. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you. It was very interesting. It's always interesting to hear your realizations. Thank you for being there with us today. Vinita,
Mataji, on your strength, I talk. On all of your strength, I talk.
Vinita Gandharvika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Cinmayi Mataji. What a beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a sweet class. You are always humble. Your humbleness is there in the class. When you speak out, it shows, and the way you narrate the stories, the way you bring up whole verses and gather the notes from every place and sit and write and then put that notes in front of you and present. It shows your total hard work in front of us, Mataji. Thank you so much. I really like all the body parts of Lord you are describing, what it is the resemble of. It is so nice, that whole when you are explaining, it was so nice to hear it, Mataji. And then again, how the Lord's touch, just by the Lord is touching us, how it is going to change everything. Like how that small boy became very much like a see, even when you become so much big age also, you can't get those kind of symptoms, but just by just glance and touch by Lord, he was able to get all those symptoms that of like high level in devotion. Very, very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing. And then how Gajendra prayers, that even though Gajendra learned that prayers in the previous life, but then he recited and Lord just understanding his love for him, like Gajendra's love was able to seen by Lord, and he immediately came and he took him. So that's very, very nice, Mataji. Each and every pastime that you shared was so nice, and especially the fight between Varaha and Hiranyaksha that you were sharing, it was so beautiful. Actually, this one I in the summary sessions in the evening, I did this chapter, but I was not able to narrate like you so sweetly. You narrated very nicely, Mataji. I was because of that I could read whole chapter, and when you were narrating, I was remembering what I read for my class, and that was so nice, Mataji. How the fight was there, and how so much of illusion was created by Hiranyaksha, and Lord removed everything, and finally he did one punch on the ear, and he's gone. And the intensive prayers by the demigods, right? Oh my God, why are you playing with him? Come on, finish it up. That was also very nicely you described, Mataji. Thank you so much. And I'm waiting for you to give one summary class in Srimad Bhagavatam evening session. For that. Thank you, Mataji, once again for such a sweet class. Very grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vinita Mataji. That part of going through the notes, I've been asked to stop by Prithvilasni Mataji. I will do it. I'm keeping all notes all over. Not technically good, Mataji, but I'll learn soon. And thank you, Vinita Mataji. You are such a support, always there. And thank you so much, Mataji. Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for sweet class.
Parima Mataji. Thank you, Anita. Very, very nicely you summarized.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I have just 3 words. You are a pro. You are wonderful, really wonderful. I mean, your classes are like, I mean, I enjoy hearing them. That's all I can say. I don't know. I can't find words to say much, but I have like one question. Maybe yes, maybe I missed that point, and I have one realization. The question is, I missed that point. Is Prabodhanand Saraswati and Prakashanand Saraswati the same person? No, right?
They are different. Prabodhanand Saraswati, I wanted to say that, I forgot. He is uncle of Gopala Bhatta Goswami, one of our Shad Goswamis. So they are all Vaishnavas. They are nowhere near Mayavad, this thing, understanding. The Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is warning us. He's saying, don't read books which confuse these two names and say the two people are one. So.
Okay. Because the name is like Prabodhanand Saraswati, because Saraswati is mostly in that kind of sannyasi is usually in the Mayavad lineage. That is why it's like confusing, right? Saraswati, we have those sannyasis in the Mayavad lineage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are there. Here, here Prabhupada just says Prabodhananda. I don't know if Prabodhananda's name was Prabodhananda Saraswati. I don't know that, Mataji. Somebody else can.
I mean, sorry, but I had heard somewhere Prabodhanand Saraswati. That's why I'm asking you, Mataji. Sorry, I'm just not to confuse you, Mataji.
No, Mataji, I know very little.
I know nothing. Anyway, and I just have one realization, and that is, somehow that came to my mind. I don't know how. It's like a follow-up on Darshini Mataji. She's so wonderful in sharing her realizations. That when she mentioned one thing, that how Mahaprabhu took all the whip marks on his back, it reminded me of our Guru Varga somehow, especially His Holiness my Guru Maharaj Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. He is so merciful. He has taken up so much upon himself. He goes everywhere distributing his mercy. It's like whatever punishments are supposed to be for his disciples, it is as if he has taken it upon himself. It somehow it came to my mind, and I'm just sharing it with you. That it reminded me of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So it's like he's so merciful, and he even chants. I heard somewhere he even chants for his devotees. So just so that if some devotees are missing on their rounds, or if they are not chanting properly, he chants for them. It's so that reminded me that, more than anybody, I think the acharyas and our gurus, they are more and more merciful than anybody else. They don't take out their Sudarshan Chakra on us. They always show their mercy on us. So it just came to my mind, and I'm sharing it, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Beautiful realization, this Mataji. And I even heard from, I think Induleka Mataji told me, each time Guru Maharaj blesses somebody with his mercy stick, he chants Mahamantra. So as you said, he chants for all of us too.
Yes, chants for everyone. So I just heard that in his Vyasa Puja class lecture. So it was so wonderful. So I'm just sharing it, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. And Mataji, Sukhasagari Mataji sent a link about Prabodhananda Saraswati, Mataji. Maybe we can see it.
Yes, I will see that. Thank you so much, Sukhasagari Mataji. Thank you very much, all Matajis. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams to everyone.
Thank you so much, Parima Mataji. We have Arkitida Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranams, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. What strikes me is always your sincerity and your dedication and your love for your Shastras. The way you read it so scrutinizingly and the way you share it is always outstanding. So thank you, Mataji. You are truly an inspiration for all of us, so that we can also dive deep into it and prepare our notes. So really, really grateful to you, Mataji. The way you explain with so much sincerity and enthusiasm, that really strikes. Thank you so much. And as Parima Mataji was asking, yes, though the Saraswati is the same, but there is no connection between Prakashananda Saraswati and Prabodhananda Saraswati. They're all together a different personalities and altogether a different mindset. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams.
And pranam to you, Kirtida Mataji. Mataji, your classes are so instructive, Mataji. Always there's a take-home message. There's something with which I can, it is at my level also. I can also take some take-home message and work on it. You get down to our level and talk, Mataji. So that is, and it comes from your heart and it touches, Mataji. So much to learn from you. Thank you so much, Mataji. If you find anything good in all this, it's because of mercy of all you Vaishnavas and Srila Gurudev and Prabhupada. That is all, Mataji. I'm nothing. And please bless me that I continue to read Srila Prabhupada's books properly without any pride touching me, Mataji. Thank you so much.
I'm nowhere, Mataji. It's not that I come onto the level. I am on that level. So that's why I have more realizations of that level. And I want to progress. So therefore, all those instructions are for myself, not for others. It's all for my purification. And yes, my prayers are always with you. Not only with you, but every one of us who are there on the call, that we all should have love for Srila Prabhupada books. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you all so much. And for those who missed wishing Mataji, again, I'll put it on gallery. You can wish Mataji happy birthday now that she's on the call. Happy birthday, dear Kirtida.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Mataji. Hare Krishna to you, Kirtida Mata.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your wishes.
Hare Krishna, Kirtida Mataji. Wish you a very happy Krishna conscious birthday, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Kirtida Sundari Mataji. I'm sorry, I don't know. My Zoom does not have access to the camera. So I'm
That's
not able
okay,
to
Mataji. Even I'm not on camera. So that's okay.
I am not able to turn it on. Anyway, something in the settings I cannot figure out right now. But happy birthday to you, Mataji, and a virtual hug to you. Thank you so much for all your wonderful services, Mataji.
Thank you, all of you, for all your wonderful association. Hare
Happy Krishna conscious birthday, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Shivani Mataji. Thank you. Okay, Preeti Vilasni Mataji, you can take.
Thank you, all your devotees.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can I share one thing? Very nice class, Mataji. Cinmayi, Vrajapriya, Mataji. Such a beautiful class and such a beautiful narration. It's been like you tell in such a nice way that it reaches our heart, Mataji, and it's been very inspiring. Actually, yesterday only I was hearing about this pastime of Varaha, Neela Varaha and Shweta Varaha, and I was recollecting each and everything what you were telling, Mataji. It's so nice to hear all those pastimes and the way you were describing about Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Very nice, Mataji. Really touchwood. Thanks a lot for taking this class, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Thank you, Harita Mataji. Thank you so much for your wishes. And I didn't do anything. I just read from the purports, Mataji. That's all. Thank you. And thanks to all the Matajis in the chat. Thanks to each one of you. Please bless me that I serve Srila Prabhupada nicely. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, dear devotees, for joining us and giving us your very valuable time and association. Thank you again, Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Thank you all. We will meet again tomorrow with a continuation of the story of Lord Chaitanya manifesting different forms like Varaha and then speaking to Murari Gupta. So let's end here. Ancha kalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila
Jai.
Jai. Her Grace Cinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji ki jai. All
Jai.
and all.
Hare Krishna.
Much Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.